Hello, everybody in Twitchland. The time on the clock says 10:30. It is Tuesday, so that means we are going to be doing some prep using Fantasy Grounds. Feel free to join me if you're watching this on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Stop by and feel free to answer questions. Ask questions, rather. You can answer them too. That's fine. And um, we can talk about your campaign. I can answer questions. I'm okay with coding. What just happened? Sorry, guys. I'm opened the wrong one. I'm not sure. I'm a little kerfluffled because I'm a minute or two late. Uh, had some updates I wasn't expecting and some errands I had to run. I know you don't care. I apologize for wasting everybody's time, but that's my excuse, and I'm blaming it. All right, try this again, shall we? So I do change. I have 4 different fonts, by the way. So while I'm here, if you purchase or download from the Fantasy Grounds forum, there are a lot of free extensions. Uh, I was very hesitant at first. It took me a long time to get them. Once you download it, make sure you remember where it is, whether it's in your download folder or if your computer puts it somewhere else. But then you click here, open the data folder, and that'll bring up a window. Now, my OBS right now is not set for this, but you'll then see a bunch of different folders, one of which says, so cache, campaigns, characters. You'll double click on extensions, and then drop that ext file that you downloaded from the forums or from DM's Guild into that folder. And that's all you have to do. If your Fantasy Grounds is open, I just close them, close, exit, and bring it back up. But then when you bring it back up and you click on your campaign, you'll then see extensions, and that will be listed underneath the extensions here. Um, I have 4 different fonts that I was given, and I just switch it up every week, change it. So we had some issues with the hit points of one character's hit point in one NPC would fluctuate, and they kept changing and jumping when nothing was happening. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that while we're streaming today. If that's it's going to keep happening, I may turn off one of the extensions I have, see if that fixes it. But today, so those of you who've been watching the stream, you guys know that the group rescued a druid, and that druid had been held captive, forced to shape change into various exotic animals with interesting pelts. She was then skinned for the pelt, and so the group had one of her friends. She had been praying to her god to rescue her, and Sylvanas heard her pleas and gave visions to one of her friends who was in the group, and so the group went to go rescue her, and they successfully did, and now they're working their way back to a circle of druids called the Grasslands Enclave. This is the party token right here. Yeah, Drake, that was my thought, just because the only 2 people it's happening to. Drake Takes is here. First of all, hello, good morning. Let me start that again. He writes, the glitch with the hit points seems to me that it happens on one-click Druid. And now that he mentions it, that's correct. Because both of those, do you have the Unity version in Classic by accident? I do not, because I know that for sure. Here, and I can verify that by pulling up a second instance of Fantasy Grounds. Just because last week or the week before, when I showed my extensions, you were like, hey, you have Unity 1. Yeah, I know for sure, and I'm looking at it right now, it is not clicked for that one. Oh, hey, Matakuri's here too. Yeah, so Matakuri, we're talking about a glitch that happens with, and now that Drake Takes mentioned it, do you have the token stacking 1 enabled? Token stacking? I have no idea. Is that what it's called? I'm looking at my themes and I don't have anything called token stacking. Critically Awesome Essentials. Yes, I had that one. That's what we were talking about. I have the 5e Critically Awesome Essentials. And that's what I've been using because I have a Druid. Critically Awesome Essentials is the one that does token stacking. Okay, so yeah, I do have that one enabled. I don't have the Unity version enabled. But what happens is when they after they shape change, their hit points will just randomly fluctuate. I had not correlated the two together. And so, and I would have this up and I would sit there and see these graphs change, whoosh, go back and forth. So I ended up taking my Druid completely out, bringing her back in, having her restart her Fantasy Grounds and come back in. But if it's CAE, generic token swapper mod should not be installed or enabled. Okay. Do you have Mad Nomad character sheet tweaks enabled? That one was causing various flickering. So I did have Mad Nomad's character sheet, and that was my first thought, was that it was Mad Nomad's, just because that was the last one I had loaded. Until Drake mentioned the CAE, because after he mentioned that, I realized it was only my 2 druids that was happening with. Let me see. Let me pull up my second druid, because the second druid is an NPC. I built her, and someone else was running her, so she's not really in the party sheet. There we go. So yeah, she should be at full health. All right, so they're saying, do you have that one was causing various flickering. So critically awesome essentials generic token super swapper mod. All right, so that would be a module. So would that be in the CAE generic token swapper? Can I just delete that module from my module folder? Is that a thing I can do, Drake? Meta character sheet tweaks. Is that the name of the whole thing, Matakuri, or is the tweaks one part of Mad Nomad's character sheet? So Drake, you said the critically awesome essentials generic token swapper mod should not be installed or enabled. Is that something I can just go into my modules folder and delete, or is that something in the options that I can turn on and off? Let me look. I didn't think about looking here. Critically awesome essentials. Here we go. All right, so you said the generics token swapper. Lock tokens when encounter is on. Token stack resolution. Token stack resolution. I'm just going to turn these off. All right, so looks like it says the module wouldn't matter. It's an extension thing. Quickly Awesome Extensions FGU extension. You shouldn't have the CAE5E and the CAE generic token swapper enabled at the same time. Okay, so let me go ahead and get out of this, guys, and that way we can see get a better idea of what you guys are talking about. Make sure I'm got it set up right. And for those of you watching who are not familiar with extensions, like I said, it took me a long time, kicking and screaming, saying if it's not broken, why fix it? But I have come to embrace a lot of these extensions, especially the because I have a druid in my party. The critically awesome essentials for druids is just amazing. Switches the tokens, it switches the hit points, everything is correct. So it's really nice. Off to get my teeth cleaned. All right, Drake. Well, looking forward to your pretty smile tonight then. I expect to be dazzled. All right, so critically awesome essentials. Talk to my dog while I'm gone. So I don't have the Unity one clicked. All right, so he said you shouldn't have the CAE5E and the CAE generic token swapper enabled. Okay, I do not even see the generic token swapping on my list. So let's check. That looks good. Looks like the generic one isn't installed. Correct. I do have the Unity one installed, but it's not enabled. So it's good that that's confusion is not there, but it doesn't answer the question then. So hopefully it was the token stacking that I turned off in the options that makes it work. Like I said, I'm going to have the party sheet up while we're messing around today. I'm going to look and see if the fluctuation is happening. It might be because I think I'm even going to have her shape change and then watch and see what happens after she shape change. Because now that Drake, I said once Drake mentioned the druids, it got me thinking, and he's right. It wasn't happening until they shape changed. I just didn't correlate the two things at the time. But as I was saying, the group rescued this druid. They're going on their way to the Enclave. They had a couple random encounters last week with some Aurochs and some unicorn bunnies, the Almirage from Tomb of Annihilation. I had to build them because I don't have Tomb of Annihilation. Alright, so let's go back to the party sheet. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and pull up Civis, the NPC that I built, who they rescued. Throw her into the actions. So, for those of you who have never seen this, this is part of the Critically Awesome Essentials. It used to be called a one-click druid, but he added some extra things to it. It's amazing. You just pull the wild sheep from your spell list. In your spells, it'll then have druid wild shapes, and it has them all by CR. You can build your own as well. I've went through that process and built for my druid. Added a Chag beetle, a CR3 creature. That was a fun experience. Good learning curve on that one. So you can see Civis is here. Right now she has 19 wounds, 38 hit points. You see her main stats here, 14, 18, 14. So when she shape changes, so she's not a moon druid. I know, it's a shocker. I actually built somebody who was not a moon druid. She's Circle of the Land, grasslands to be exact. So she's going to shape change into an axe beak. So you click the magnifying glass, and all you have to do, just to complete the effect, there she is. Show you the token. Sorry, didn't mean to make you dizzy there. So here's her token. Axe beaks, I remember, are they large creatures? Let's take a look and see what the axe beak looks like. It is a large creature. Okay, so watch her token, folks. As I click the effect, it automatically changes into an axe beak token, correct size. She also has things change here, but you'll note her strength, her dex is 12 now instead of 18 like it was before. Strength is 14, con is 12. So, but you notice it does not change the intelligence or the wisdom, because it shouldn't. It gives you her speed and everything's here. And then right here on this, in this section, all the player has to do, the attack is here. And when she does the damage, it tells you exactly here, wild shape, axe beak, beak. Now you notice it says silver. And you're like, what the hell? Why is it silver? That's not right. That is not something that's built in here. She just says slashing. She has what I call a sterling ring. It's a ring I made for a werewolf that who was he was an alpha of a tribe of werewolves. So he has a sterling ring that that had that's why it was working, and even though it was off, because you're right, she had it twice. He had a sterling ring so that he could keep his pack in control. So when he wild shaped, his attacks were silvered as a wolf. So it's a 2-finger ring, just because I like 2-finger rings. I always have. It fits over 2 fingers. but allows my druid, when they wild shape, their attacks are silvered. Um, anyway, and so it does that. I coded that, made that for her. So now, since I turned it off, that should go away. Yep, that was go away. So Matakuri was correct. Is correct. I had it there twice. So now she's wild shaped. That's something else, a trick also. My other druid has something else called primal something. Let's see. She has primal strike. So that allows her damage type to be magic when she's wild shaped. She also has a shield. So if the player adds the effect to the combat tracker, they can then have access to this toggle switch. If I, as a dungeon master, add the effect to the combat tracker, they cannot toggle it. Only I can toggle it. So I ask them to do those things, and that way, when she wild shapes, all she does is she just clicks this on, and then when she drops out of wild shape, she turns it off. But Primal Strike is a similar effect where when they're wild shaped, it allows their effects to be magic. Anyway, I got a little sidetracked there. So Civis, that's what a wild shape looks like. Notice her hit points are 19. If she takes, so let's say um, Rundren, who's a wolf. So we're going to say when Rundren suddenly turns on the axe beak and bites her for 11 damage. So watch the token. She's taking 11 damage there. As she takes another 11, you see she drops out of wild shape automatically. And she had 19 hit points because she went over by 3. It drops it adds it to her original hit points. Again, everything is working exactly like it should. It is amazing. It was called One Click Druid. It's now called Critically Awesome Essentials. Um, it's like $10, I think. I haven't checked in a while, but it was. He also keeps updating it and adding different features to it. So um, there's some nice things. Anyway, so my point was I really like his extension, and so that was one like the second or third one I ever purchased, and I've been slowly being added more, and I've been given a couple and things like that. So, but the problem we've been having was the module. So the extension was always called Critically Awesome Essentials. The module included with the initial purchase was One Click Druid. There are additional modules that unlock functionality like DM tools. Okay, yeah, Mad Cury's on. Thank you, Mad Curie. I appreciate it. Speaking of Mad Curie, we're going to be starting a game this Friday, October 2nd. You can check it out on Drake Takes channel. Mad Curie, are you going to be streaming that on your Twitch as well? Empire of the Ghouls is what it's called. All right, so yeah, Drake Takes. So check it out on Drake Takes. It's all one word, DrakeTakes. Is going to be streaming it. Drake Takes is actually going to be a player this time. He's usually every other Friday. He's the DM for a Chult homebrew that he made. They started last Friday. They were in the middle of a ship, woke up on a ship, and nobody knew what was going on. They were manacled. The ship was crashing. It was pretty exciting. And so the Empire of the Ghouls I was talking about was made by Cobalt Press. So they do some pretty solid stuff from what I've seen. All right, so the reason I did all that, the reason I went through all that is to see. So now we're going to watch her hit points are 22. What was happening last time we played is her hit points would fluctuate. So see, now it says 16 of 38. And so you can sit there on the main page at 16, and it would just sit there and jump around and move around, jump up to 38, jump back down to 4. I mean, the numbers weren't consistent, and so I'm looking to see if that's been fixed. This does not match what's in the combat tracker, so I don't know exactly what's happening there either. So while we're messing around with this other stuff, we'll see. Is there a possibility that they ended a session while wild shaped? That has happened before, and I've never known that to be an issue. Did it happen this last time? Trying to remember. I don't believe either one of them were wild shaped when we ended the session before that, or this session. So no, I don't think that was it. So that can cause issues. Okay, well that's good to know. I'll have to keep that in mind. It might have been. I honestly don't remember. Uh, so it would have been 4 weeks ago. Did they end it while wild shaped? Possibly. That's possible. So I'll keep an eye out for that. All right. So because what I'm doing is homebrew, I drop the whatever one they're doing the story entry down here. I have a lot of I pull from a lot of different sources. One of my players especially is very old hat. 3 out of my 5 players have been playing D&D for a long time. One of them especially has that encyclopedic mind. All right. So I try to pull things that are unique, um, pull from strange sources that I know of, or make stuff up myself, just to keep them off the trail. Because when they see stuff that they recognize, like they ran into some invisible stalkers the other day, and the player knows right away what it is. So I try to keep these things different, like a blue troll that's um, takes ice damage in order to stop regenerating, things like that. All right, so Maticuri says the main issues I've seen is wrong data saved, like size remaining at large when they return to human form and hit points messed up. I did have one thing happen with Civis in regards to the size, so that might have been the issue. Maybe she was shape changed when we ended the session a couple weeks ago. So that might be the issue. So far, I haven't seen any fluctuations, and it was happening very often when we were playing. So it looks like it might be taken care of now. My next step was going to be try re-downloading the extensions, those two, but turning off. So I'm turning off all the stacking. May have fixed it. We'll see. All right. So last week they ran into a herd of aurochs, which are beasts that are ridden by orcs, tamed and pretty much like a war bull. Instead of a war horse, it's like a war bull. Um, tough, herdy, and of course, doesn't matter what the animal is, my party has to have it. They've even kept baby trolls and tried to save a baby bullet before, bullet, however you want to pronounce that. My group loves animals. So, and I was actually really surprised because the hunter came back with a couple of these dead, And I thought for sure they were going to pick up on that and try to go find where it came from, where they came from, and try to see if they could find one. But they didn't take the bait on this, the Almirage. Yeah, so I built the Almirage thanks to the Google. I was able to find all the stats just in case I did decide to go try to capture some. Um, all right, so I've got it set to where if they go back to the person that had the druid. So the way how I was playing that was, it's a bad guy. They've been around for a while. He's captured this druid to get the pelts and sell the pelts as a means to make money. He saw this adventuring group coming toward his place, but didn't know exactly what the whole purpose was, or how powerful they were, things like that. So he sent his bard down there, and the bard intercepted them and said, "Hey, down this road, there's nothing except for this merchant's house. So save yourself some time. Go ahead and head back the other way, because there's nothing down here." And they ended up telling him through some magic coercion that they were after this person. And looks like my camera froze. Give me just a second. So there we go. So they ended up through some magic coercion telling him that they were after Civis. So he magically communicated back with his boss, and so the boss's thought process was, I'll just give her back. If that's all they want, I'll give her back. So he ended up sending her out. She had no memory of what happened for the last several months. They find her on the road, and because, like I said, he's been alive this long. Why risk? He's not so proud that he has to prove that he's more powerful than this group of adventurers. He had nothing really to gain from it besides a handful of magic items they may or may not have on them. So, and who knows what their connections are. So if he kills this one group, one or maybe all of them could have friends or temples or who knows, organizations that he could then have pissed off by killing people, who would then send more people after him. So just give him back the druid. He can always get another one later, move somewhere else. So in a matter of self-preservation, he gave her back. So again, she was not hurt when they found her. She was just confused and had amnesia. So they decided to quickly take her back to the Enclave. Um, I wasn't sure how that was going to play out, but the group uh, had some discussion. And by discussion, I mean they argued a lot, but finally decided to leave it lie, take her away um, to the Enclave, get her into safety, and then one of them is hell bent on going back, uh, and as she's not sure if the rest of the group will join her, which of course they will. Um, so I've got everything set up. I still haven't decided. I'm sort of waffling back and forth. I think what's going to happen is he's not going to be there. So if he sees them coming back, he's just going to leave. So everything else will be there but him. And I think it'll be pretty clear when, after they go through the rest of the defenses and things that are around this house, um, that he's gone. So it will have been about a week since he let her go and when they come back. So I just don't know exactly how much. I might even have, you know what, now that I think about it, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him rent out slash rent slash sell his house that he lives in, and a new family will be working their way up this road that they'll pass with wagons full of crap that they're moving up into his house. So this is the house that of the merchant, and this is actually a tile underneath this table. Are some floorboards that you can then go down. There's also another entrance. He had some winged basilisk, a couple winged basilisk in the house protecting it. Um, and I think, and then I had a big, large cavern underneath. Zoom out on that. So they come out through here, and there's just this large cavern with water, and there's just a very cool-looking Petros. Petros is picture's not all that. This rock beast is there, sort of hidden in the rocks here. And then they work their way finally to the place where he kept her. You guys may recognize this. This is from one of the map packs. So if you're stepping back, and those of you listening, what he would do is, this is her, where he kept her. He would bring her out and use this large crystal as a scrying device, and that would allow her to watch these creatures for an hour, that he wanted her to change into. And so by studying the creature for an hour, she would then be able to shape change into it. He would then put her back, force her to shape change, get the pelt from her while she was shape changed into it. And then, so this room also has some things. I had him with a couple dwergers and two creatures called tentacloons, which are from the alien bestiary. And I just have these more of, instead of being as scientific, these are probe droids that go fetch things for people. You can see the octopus-like suckers on these things. I just had them be more like golems or clockwork, sort of a combination of magic and technology that this thing made. Because the main boss right now I have is a Mind Flayer sorcerer. So that is his, who this is. And if you know anything about Illithids and Mind Flayers, they are very against, well, not, I wouldn't say against, but they don't, you won't find a wizard Mind Flayer just because they have problems with magic. I forget the exact wording that they have in it, but I've done quite a bit of reading on Illithids and Mind Flayers. They've run across an undead Mind Flayer. It was a Mind Flayer white, which is pretty cool. They've also run across a hybrid of a Yeti that was part, it's called a xenomorph, and he was part Mind Flayer, so he had some of the tentacles coming from his mouth. And again, that was there's a picture I made. There's a template that you can use for any creatures that are partially taken over by the Illithids. Anyway, so looking at this, let's see. So he's going to take the winged basilisk with him when he leaves. The house is going to be pretty much empty. Um, I think the Tentacloons will be there. So the concept is he's moving, he's taking some of his stuff with him initially, and then he's going to eventually work to come back once he gets his new place set up for the crystal and the his guardians. So I think I'm going to keep the Dwergers there as sort of like caretakers. They're going to take care of the Tentacloons. The Tentacloons go and find creatures for the Petros to eat and drop it down this chute that opens up to the like a little cave. Um, as magical creatures, they don't need to eat, but so the workers will just be there as a protection for the crystal. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have him gone for when they come and find him. So we're going to take him off the map. All right, so what I want to do is I want to have one other encounter. I don't think they'll get through it this week because this week they're going to be talking to the enclaves. I'm still up in the air of a couple different discussions going on with my players as far as what they want to accomplish while they're in the enclave. So there's not a whole lot I can do there. There's not going to be any real encounters, so I don't really need to worry about building an encounter. Let me see if I have any high-level druids in the NPCs that I have access to. This is challenge rating 2, and these are a different race. I have the images. Okay. A Blight Druid is a challenge level 5. An Arc Druid. Here we go. Okay, good. So I have an Arc Druid. I'm going to go ahead and change the, it won't let me change it, so I'm going to go ahead and put the NPC here. I'm going to make a new chapter. If you hit Control 2, that makes it in a chapter heading. Drag him into here. Once I open this one, I should then be able to manipulate it. No, I can't. Okay, so we will go here. We'll make a copy. All right. So we need to come up. Let's come up with a name for her. Well, I'm gonna say there's gonna be a 60% chance it's female. So 1 to 60 it's a female, 40 it's a female. So let's go ahead and pull up my handy dandy website. There are lots of naming conventions out there. I have like 400 Windows open people, so it's taking me just a second here. So the one I like best is called Fantasy Name Generators, all one word, .com, because they continue to work on it and they continue It is a random thing, but it has fantasy names, and you click it, and there's an entire page. I'm guessing there's got to be at least, starts from alien names all the way down to zombie types. And there's just this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. There's got to be more than 100 different categories, not names, categories. And in this case, so there's dryad names. I'm trying to think of what it's going to be. Let's see. I think I'm going to have her be a Firbolg just because. So I'm going to go ahead and go with dryad names because that's pretty close. And then when you click on the column, the category you want, and by the way, that's just fantasy names. There's real names, place names, other names, pop culture, descriptive generators, things like descriptions for planets and plants and laws and castles and cities and weapons. I mean, this website is amazing, fantasynamegenerators.com. So it will then generate 10 random names for whatever you click, and then you just click it again, and it'll generate 10 more and 10 more, 10 more. So it's really neat. I'm looking here to see Osgina Duranta. That's pretty cool. I like that. Clovereye. Clovereye has to do with the land, has to do with things. I'm going to go with that. There's also Cloveris, but I like it for a female. And then you can also usually differentiate between male and female. So this is going to be Archdruid, if I can spell. Wow, what happened there? Clovereye. And of course, I can't have the A for a token. I love my tokens. As you can see, I have tons and tons and tons of tokens because I don't like using the numbers. Let's see. I could use Yoda. All right, so I'm looking for a Firbolg female. I had a Firbolg character. I was just looking to see if I had ever made a token for him. Doesn't look like I do have anything for Firbolgs. I don't even remember what book they're from, so I'm not sure where to look to see. I'm guessing it's Volo's Guide to Monsters. Let's see, F. Fire Giant. Nope, so the Firbolgs aren't from there. All right, so we're just going to have to ask the Google. So what I'm going to do, folks, is I usually don't do this, but I'm going to add another display. So let's see. This is going to be Windows Capture. This is, I'm going to call it miscellaneous. Yep, that's the one I want. Okay, and then I'm just going to sort of slap it over here to the side a little bit so you can see. There we go, that works. All right, so what I do is I'm looking for I could also put Druid, but since Firbolgs are mostly Druids anyway, there's some Rangers in there and too stuff. Nothing here really floats my boat that's better than the first one. That first one was pretty cool. That one's cool too. I like that one. Very friendly looking, druidic. I like that one better than this one. I'm just gonna go with this one. I like it. I like it. I like her a lot. That's cool. All right, so this one is the right size. Creatus, Creatus. So thank you for Creatus. I'm going to, yeah, nothing else here is close to what I want. So you save it. So then what you do is when you save it into that. Remember, I mentioned earlier with the extensions, if you click on a data folder, it'll pull up your Fantasy Grounds. And then underneath that Fantasy Grounds where you save the extensions, instead you're going to go to Campaigns. Click the campaign right now. The one I'm working on is Wednesdays. And then once that's open, you go to Images. Or if you're like me, you can also put it in a separate folder for accessing all of your games. So then the reason I showed you this, well, not just to get this picture, but the other thing I love is Roll Advantage. And I wanted you guys to see that today. I've mentioned it before. I haven't ever shown you this. So what this is this is Roll Advantage, all one word, .com. This is the home, and I use it for the token stamp. Is also a dice roller as well. But you then have all these different options up here, all these things down here. Trust me, it is not confusing. It is not difficult. So all you do is you click. First of all, you can choose the image. So you can drop it here. I've actually never done that. So what I always do is just go over to here to where it says choose image. I click it. That pulls up your folders. And so same thing you just did where you saved that image, wherever you save that image, go to it. So there she is. So now I can then move this around, and you'll notice up here it shows you exactly what it's going to look like. And then you can also zoom in. So whatever you want the token to be. In this case, I'm actually going to cut out some of the hair. I like the staff, but do I like it that much? Let's see if I squish it a little bit, how badly it looks. How bad it looks. I can't speak today. That's not a bad token. I mean, it's just going to be on the map for them to interact with. So keep in mind, this looks huge, and there's a lot of detail and stuff in this, but they're looking at a map on their computer screen, and it's going to be tiny, tiny token. So unless they zoom in a lot. So for my tokens, you'll see a lot of my tokens are very close up, very small details. Anyway, so then now comes the cool part. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger because of what I was just talking about. I'll have this picture up so they'll have the picture to reference. Squish it just a little bit more so I can make it just a little bigger. There we go. So I can see the staff in her hand. Okay, now you go here, and these are all the different choices you have for the shape of the token. So you can do something cool like this one, like this one. Now, the brown, I don't like the brown. I want it to be a little bit So let's see, do I want to go with a cool looking wiggly line? Yeah, I'm going to go with the wiggly line, or do I want the shapes, the flat ones? I'm going to go with the flat one. So now I'm done with that. I can now go to the tint of what I want. All right, so she's going to be with the grasslands, so she's going to be green. And again, you can see you can go down to the, if you know the numbers of what, I forget the term for this number, you can type that in. You can also change all these different variables here, or just like I do, just click it. I like the dark green here. Okay. Now, if you're using a PNG file, then this gray will be clear. So you can change the background color around here so that what shows through. Also, if I was moving it over and only using part of the picture, the image, so you had some of that background showing through, you can change that. If you want to type into it, you can add a text box and then change the text color. So I had I had statues of dwarves that had different gems on the base, was part of a puzzle they had to figure out. So I wrote the color of the gem underneath and put it in the token. Um, and then if you don't want the border to be that thick, you can make it less opaque or more. So, and then any overlays that you have, an overlay tint, so you can change an overlay. So there's just so much you can do with this. Again, I haven't messed with either of these ever. I haven't messed with the scale ever. I've only messed with adding a text to one set of tokens I've done. But I've used this token stamp thing, got to be a couple hundred times at least. Um, I love this thing. And so now I'm done. What do you do now? Again, I don't know what any of these other things do except download. I change the name of it to whatever you want. And again, same thing. You can put it into your, there you should have a tokens, you go back out of the campaigns and you will then have where it says Fantasy Grounds folder, you will then have a tokens within the Fantasy Grounds folder. And that's where you save it. And there she is. She's now saved. So let's go ahead. I'm going to close this out. Open up my tokens. And she was listed as a Furbolg. CDEF. Now it's making me a liar. See where did all right. Give me just a second here. I'll get this figured out. I know if I opened it and closed it, it would be there. I shouldn't have to go through that process. There we go. That should have done it. There she is. Okay. So now that I have my token, I just drag her over to my person, make sure it's unlocked. And then I'm going to add my copy. See, if you don't copy it, you can't change it. You can't tweak it. Once you add it to the combat tracker, if they're going to fight the creature, you can then change the name, you can change the token, but it won't let you change the actual template. So I'm going to drop her here. I don't need the traditional Archdruid that I can't change. What I personally like to do is I like to put here what it is. This is the NPC, and now I'm also going to add the image. So what you have to, in order to get the image, you open this up, click on images. I have a lot of images. I use a lot of my stuff. These two are blank. Yeah. So if you try to access an image that you don't have a link to, that's what it does. It makes a new drawing. Just delete them by clicking the editing list and deleting it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in, click on folder. I can then find the, actually she should be here because I saved her to this. Let's see. There she is. So I saved it in the right folder before images. So here she is. Boom. So I'm going to go ahead and put the unidentified name as her real name, Archdruid Clovray. So the reason I did that is because I could change the actual name of the file here and in my folder, or in my folder on my desktop, to her real name. And then I'd have to refind it in here and everything else. So I'm just going to leave it this way. Put it here, leave it as unidentified. So that now when they open this, when I share this to them, that's the name they'll see. So I'm going to throw this down here to that, and then put image. So now in my list here, I just click this, it pulls up her, click this, pulls that up. So now when I add her to a map, so it looks like I have not seen any fluctuation at all here or in the combat tracker. So it looks like we fixed it. So when we go to the map, again, I'll just show you this real quick. I can then, you add her to the combat tracker, and you can make her yes, a faction or friendly. If you do friendly, they'll be able to see their hit points and everything else. So I just do either neutral or faction, and then drag her here, boom, make her visible, and there she is. So like I said, you don't have to worry about that much with the token because you can't really, these are the type of tokens I like right up in your face. So this one is a little bit farther away, you can't see it, and if you zoom out at all, it gets really hard to see. So that's why normally I would have zoomed in even more, but because I already have the image I'm sharing with them of her, they know what the token is from, then I'm letting it go like that. All right. Well, as I say on Car Talk, you have wasted another good hour with me. Hopefully, if you're like me and you're watching this on YouTube, you watch it faster at 1.25 or 1.5 speed. Especially when things like this, educational or just informational, I should say. I don't know how educational it was, but at least informational. Um, you can watch it faster than if I just need to see exactly what they clicked or what they were doing. I put it back at normal speed. Um, but that's how you make a copy of a creature. So you can change. So now in my NPCs, I have the Archdruid Cloveray is there forever until I delete her. Um, Also, she's now in uncategorized, so uh, I can look at all the tokens that the copies of or creatures I've made or copied are here. So these are all the different ones that I've made simply by unclicking this. So you can see the number I have here. If we go to, for example, to all, there are 32 pages of NPCs. So um, because of all the modules and things that I'm using, so it definitely helps to use the uncategorized. So thank you for watching, hanging out with me. If you enjoyed it, like it, subscribe. Come on back Tuesdays. Tomorrow is a new phase, a new chapter has unfurled in my streaming. I had been doing Fantasy Grounds, almost the exact same thing, but with Starfinder. But we have now switched to Fantasy Ground Unity. So starting tomorrow, the first stream I'll have for prepping Fantasy Grounds Unity. That's probably going to break it into two tomorrow, part one and part two, just because I have a lot of work to do. Um, because when you transfer a campaign from if you start from scratch in Unity, then it's very similar in nature as far as prep work and things to Classic. But because I'm taking a campaign uh, that we worked from level 1 all the way there now level 9 and converting it over to Unity, that's not really a thing. You can't really take a campaign from one to another. You can to some extent, but uh, you basically have to build it from scratch. So um, the nice thing is I'm using an adventure path built by Paizo. And so all of that work is done. It's just a matter of tweaking some of the maps because Unity now has line of sight and um, converting some of the stuff I've already done and the notes and the images and like you just saw the NPCs I built, bringing them from Classic into Unity. One of the things I have to do is make a companion. So if you're not familiar with Starfinder companions, they're really awesome. And I'm going to have to rebuild my companion for my character's companion tomorrow. Um, so anyway, a lot of things I'm going to be doing every Wednesday, 10:30, Fantasy Grounds Unity, Starfinder. And then we actually play Starfinder Sunday nights from 5:30 to 8. You can watch us on live on that, again using Fantasy Grounds Unity. And then Thursdays, I mess around on Magic the Gathering Arena. The shift of pace there. I'm not the best in the world, but you can come by, check out, and laugh as I get killed on Fantasy Grounds Arena, Magic the Gathering Arena. So thanks again, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.